What's up, squidgy slingers and water-fed pole wiggling wagglers, and welcome to the Tradman YouTube channel once again. Today I'm answering a question that I get quite a lot, which is why are you mainly a traditional window cleaner? So stay tuned. So here we go, folks. After many years of using both methods, since I was 18, I've done water-fed pole and traditional. These are my own personal reasons why I prefer traditional window cleaning over water-fed pole, the pros and cons, and leave your thoughts in the comments box below. I don't really want this to turn into a trad versus water-fed pole type of debate. This is just letting you personally know why I like to do things traditionally. So let's kick things off with reason number one. Now, the first reason I like to do things traditionally is because it gives you that unique perspective. You get your nose to glass, as it's quite frequently called, and you can see every little detail on the frames, the panes, the sills. So it's giving you that unique perspective, which you obviously wouldn't get, say if you're, for instance, you're 15, 20, 30 feet down on the ground. If you're nose to glass, then you get that unique perspective and you can ensure that the windows are definitely 100% before you head off back down that ladder. And one of the other things, folks, is if there's any sort of paint and silicone, cement, ingrained bird's mess, bug mess, whatever it may be, it's much easier to deal with that nose to glass than it is trying to scrub it from maybe 20, 30 feet down on the ground. So I've always found being nose to glass just makes everything nice and easy to try and get everything removed from that glass and framework. Now, the other advantage that I've noticed from using both methods is the sills, especially when you're up on the first floor. We'll take that as a for instance. A lot of times on the first floor, if you're cleaning it from the ground, it's very difficult to know if you've got everything on those sills upstairs. But if you go up there on the ladder, you'll notice, what's missed and what you've cleaned, and be able to use things like Unger rub out, bronze wool and such like to get those sills looking as good as you've got the frames and panes as well. So there's another advantage, is getting those sills 100%, because remember, although you might not be able to see the sills very well from down on the ground, your customers can see those sills perfectly well from out of their window. So just bear that in mind. Now, the next reason that I personally prefer a traditional clean is just because you get that instantaneous results. Obviously, once you've bladed that window down, once you've wiped those frames and sills clean and dry, you can have a look at it and make sure it's 100% before you head off onto the next window. Whereas obviously with water-fed pole, there is that gamble element to it, that although it may appear nice and clean when it's wet, sometimes this does happen that it might not always dry 100%. There is that chance. So for me personally, I like to ensure that things are done 100%, even on a first clean, because you'll know yourself, if perhaps you're a water-fed pole user, which I am as well, that you have to say to the customer after a water-fed pole first clean, well, perhaps it might not come out 100%. It might take 2 to 3 cleans before it comes up as good as I personally would like it. Whereas traditional, you can have that peace of mind that it's done perfectly before you drive off. So for me personally, that's one thing, extra that I like about doing it traditionally. So we've discussed that getting things like paint, silicone and cement and all that is a bit easier to do traditionally, and perhaps going up on those first floor windows and getting that sill 100% might be better to do traditionally, well, I have personally found. But the other question is that, can you earn as much doing things traditionally? That is a question I get quite a lot, which I thought we would cover. Now, the simple answer is really that it comes down to a couple of things. Is firstly your pricing structure, and also how good you are at traditional window cleaning. Now, firstly, with the pricing structure, I thought we would delve into that first. So normally what I do, if I know I'm going to be cleaning a job traditionally, I know I'm going to charge it that bit more than as if I was to price it for a water-fed pole. Because generally speaking, especially if there's higher windows to do, a water-fed pole tends to be that bit quicker. So I know traditionally it's going to take me longer to do that job, so then I price it more. So by having an increase in your price, if you're doing it traditionally, that compensates for the fact that it's taking you that bit longer and you might not get through as many jobs per day, but because you've increased your price for doing it traditionally, your earnings are going to still be very, very good. So I wanted to give you a little for instance. This is just hypothetically speaking. Say we had 10 jobs and they were water-fed pole jobs, and they were all £10 each. Now that gives us a nice round number of £100. Now if I go to those same jobs and I add on 50% more, because that's actually what I do if I'm doing it traditionally. So if I'm going up to do it with a squeegee and ladder, I know it's going to probably take me at least another 50% longer, especially if there's high windows involved. Add on that 50%, so each job is now £15 instead of 10. So basically I only have to do around about 7 jobs instead of 10 to get around about near that £100 mark. So yes, you might not get through as many jobs doing it traditionally, but if you price it more, then you will end up with round about the same per day. So that's basically how I work things out and how I can keep my earnings quite good. So yes, indeed, you can earn a good wage. You just have to remember to put your prices up to reflect that extra time that those jobs may take. But also your skill and how efficient you are as a traditional window cleaner comes into play as well. It's a known fact that traditional window cleaning is a bit more tricky to learn, to get a grasp of, than water-fed pole is. So just bear that in mind. Give yourself some time to get good at it. And basically the faster you get, the better you get, then obviously the better your wage is going to be at the end of the day. But here are the cons to traditional window cleaning. Like anything in life, swings and roundabouts, that there is cons to traditional window cleaning. And the first thing that normally pops up in people's minds is the use of ladders. Now there's not really any way to get around it. If you want that nose to glass finish, you want to be able to get up nice and close to your windows and make sure they're 100%, you're probably going to have to at some point get up a ladder. Now if you use it correctly and safely, take your time going up and down, make sure it's put it in a correct angle, the foot of the ladder is nice and safe, then you shouldn't really run into any issues. But it's when people take the ladder for granted, they start running up and down ladders or overreaching, that they'll normally run into issues. But that is one of the cons, that you obviously can't keep your feet on the ground if you want that nose to glass finish. So if you find a pair of rocket boots or a jetpack that we can use to get to those windows instead, I'm not sure if that's any safer, let me know. I wouldn't mind trying one out. And as we mentioned before, there is a real skill element to it, and let's face it, not everybody can do it. There's actually a lot of window cleaners these days that can't do traditional window cleaning, but even if you do water-fed pole mainly on the outsides, it's still a good skill to know and to have. If internal window cleaning comes up, you maybe land a big contract. If you're not really sure how to do traditional window cleaning, then you're not going to get that contract, are you? So it'd be better to keep that skill under your belt, as it were, no pun intended, so you can actually do some traditional window cleaning and also add that tool to your toolbox. But focusing on the cons, one of the other cons to traditional window cleaning is accessibility to some windows. Now, there's a lot of houses that are designed with windows up the roof, or there's, Velux windows. There's a lot of accessibility issues, windows over conservatories, that a water-fed pole comes in really, really handy. So if you're 100% traditional, you'll know yourself there are some jobs sometimes you can't even take on, or there's some jobs where you say, I'm really sorry, I can't get to that window, or I can't get to that window. So that's another con to traditional window cleaning, is that you are limited. So following on from that actually leads me nicely onto, although I am mainly traditional, why I have a water-fed pole system in my arsenal, in my toolbox. And I'll leave a link in the description below to the system that I have in the back of my van. But yes, having that water-fed pole system is a real lifesaver. It allows me to get to those windows that I wouldn't maybe be able to get to, or couldn't do traditionally. It allows me to get to them, but it also allows me to offer other services. For instance, signage cleaning, fascia and soffit cleaning, conservatory roof cleaning, and there's a few other bits and pieces as well that you can do with it. So it is a good thing to have in your arsenal if you can. So hopefully this video answers those questions of why I'm mainly a traditional window cleaner. It's because I like that instantaneous result on the windows. I like to be able to get nose to glass to those windows. So I can make sure I've got absolutely everything off of the frames, the panes, the sills, and make sure it's absolutely 100%. There's no gamble element to it. That's why, one of the reasons I really, really like it. Now there is a but. As we've mentioned, I want to make this very, very clear. I still need a water-fed pole. For my own personal use, I still need it. There's a lot of jobs that I would not be able to do without my water fed pole, so I'm actually very grateful to actually have one on board to be able to use. So perhaps you're 100% traditional and you're sort of thinking, not sure about the water fed pole. It has its place. For me personally, I've found that it has its place, and like I say, it opens up doorways that you maybe wouldn't have been able to do before with just your traditional tools. So hopefully that clears things up for you. Any further questions, fire them in the comments box below. Hopefully the video has been enjoyable today. Like I say, these are just my own personal choices and opinions of why I do things the way I do it. It doesn't mean it's right or wrong. You're free to obviously choose the way that you do things, what tool you use, and what you find works for you, and also the jobs that you have or where you live. It all comes into it as well. But hopefully that's helped you and you've enjoyed the video, and comment in the box below, leave your thoughts and opinions. It'd be honestly really much appreciated. And you take care, be good, and bye for now.